welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker. Thank you so much for joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very, very much. I want to let you know what's happening with some local news. We were very glad to welcome into our area Congressman Garret Graves, who was down to talk a little bit about the critical role of the airport and aviation business here in town.
We were here just talking about all of the progress that's been made at Houma Airport as they've worked to evolve from a blimp base during World War II to literally leading the world in some of the drone and unmanned system technology that is being innovated right here in the United States today. We've actually brought in millions of dollars in additional investment to help sort of evolve the facilities here to be able to accommodate some of the new technology that's being developed right here in the United States. Secondly, this is really about totally changing the way that everything's regulated, because the system right now is set up for aircraft, right, for manned aircraft, and we're talking about drones. We're talking about things that don't have pilots in them. Everything from small-scale delivery of packages to even helping to transport people out to the offshore and other opportunities. Coming in after hurricanes and doing reconnaissance flights, flying over pipelines for safety purposes, looking at our chemical plants and doing inspections there. So all sorts of opportunities. This is going to be a huge new industry in the United States and across the world. And so if we can get in on the front end of this right here in Houma, Louisiana, huge opportunity for economic development, for jobs, and for us to be a real tech center for the United States and the world. In just about the last 3 years, we've delivered about $5.5 billion in new just flood protection investments for South Louisiana. Over $1 billion in transportation projects, everything from the LA1 project to new lanes on I-10, record investments in the Morganza project. So folks are saying that the infrastructure bill is going to provide $5 billion over 5 years to Louisiana. Honestly, those aren't numbers that impress me. And the way that the bill is written, together with some of the actions of the Biden administration, it discriminates against Louisiana. Yes, there's a lot of money put in certain buckets, but if we're not given a fair shot at actually getting some of those dollars, then why in the world would we go out there and support that? And just to give you an example, earlier this year, using some of these very same policies that the Biden administration has put out, they had one of the largest grant programs that the Department of Transportation has. Louisiana got zero, Arkansas got zero, Alabama got zero, Mississippi got zero, Florida got zero. Why in the world would we want to support a program that puts more money, support legislation that puts more money into a program that funds California and New York? If they would have a fair, transparent process, I would be on board. We are going to work tirelessly now that it has become law to try and force the White House and try and force the Department of Transportation and others into making this a fair and transparent process, but it's clear so far that that is not what they're doing.
I think it's a fabulous collaboration of bringing in the local community and talking about kind of some national trends that are taking place and how the local airport can really be leveraged too for economic growth and job creation. And now we've seen, unfortunately, in the last 2 months, humanitarian relief with Ida. So it was fantastic for the Congressman to see and participate on those open discussions. It was fantastic to see today how the Houma Airport is really leaning in to this next generation of flight, the electrical revolution, how we're going to sustain the need for moving people. Houma seems to be really leading the charge in these efforts in a localized area. So fantastic to see.
Hurricane Ida was an incredibly powerful storm that devastated areas of South Louisiana. This has been, FEMA is one of the most frustrating agencies in the initial weeks after a disaster. They've come in and totally changed the way that they do housing in the immediate aftermath of storms. A lot of folks are trying to figure out how to make that work. It's unacceptable to leave people homeless as long as some of these people have been left homeless. The good news is that we've provided record funds in record time for recovery. We've already passed a few bills that changes the FEMA process, trying to streamline that. that. We've been working with FEMA to address these identity fraud issues that have prevented real victims from getting funding and instead funded some criminal in the United States or maybe even overseas. So things are happening right now, but I just think it's important. One, incredibly powerful storm. Two, in record time, we're able to get new assistance out there for some of these victims. And number three, I recognize FEMA has been a disaster, and we have been working and pressuring them to fix some of their wrongs to quickly get aid and assistance to people who need it most.
And thank you so very much. We appreciate that. Again, Congressman Garret Graves coming down to talk about the importance of maintaining and qualifying our aviation business here in town. All right, that's going to do it for this segment. Don't go anywhere. A lot more Bayou Time when we continue.